Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
2 minutes.
But the only way to get it is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kuhlers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution, the headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me and to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt, running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please. 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help.
I'm Nina Turner, and you're watching Free Speech TV.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. The American way is not to lie, right? I mean, it's just kind of intrinsic to reasonable political culture that if, as the leader of a country, or even as a politician, as a representative of people who elected you, you are negotiating with other people, other countries, other entities that people know that your word is good. People should know that America's word is good, which means that our president's word should be good. And yet we have a guy in the White House who has lied over 2,000 times just in his first year in office that have been documented by the press. I mean, major lies. And another one that apparently he knows he's doing this and delights in it. Another one that was outed this morning by the Washington Post. Last night, Trump was in Missouri meeting with a bunch of rich fat cats, and apparently one of them recorded his remarks. The Washington Post has those, and they're floating all over the internet now. And one of the things he said was that he basically lied to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about whether the United States has a trade deficit with Canada. Trump thinks we have trade deficits with everybody. We actually have a trade surplus with Canada. We engage in a lot of trade with Canada, particularly from Canada's point of view. We're their largest trading partner. But they end up buying more from us than we buy from them. So we have a trade surplus with them. But Trump tells the story of, well, I said to Justin, we've got a deficit with you. And Justin says, no, you don't. You've got a surplus with us. And I said, no, we've got a deficit. And so he sent somebody off to check it out. And the guy came back and he said, yeah, sir, Canada has a surplus. However, if you add in energy and something else, I forget what it was, energy and timber, then we lose $17 billion a year. He just literally made that up. It's not true. It's not what OMB says. It's not what Department of Commerce says. It's not what anybody says. Either Trump made it up, or Trump asked somebody for a statistic that would prove him right during the meeting, and somebody gave him a lie. But in either case, Justin Trudeau got lied to his face. Here's Donald Trump bragging about this last night at this fundraiser. Okay. Here we go. Hang on just a second.
Trudeau came to see me. He's a good guy, Justin. He said, no, we have no trade deficit with you. We have none. Donald, please, a nice guy, good-looking guy comes in. Donald, we have no trade deficit. He's very proud because everybody else, we're getting killed with it. So he's proud. I said, wrong, Justin, you do. I didn't even know. Josh, I had no idea. I just said you're wrong. You know why? Because we're so stupid. It's impossible. And I thought they were smart. I said, you're wrong, Justin. He said, no, we have no trade deficit. I said, well, in that case, I feel differently. I said, but I don't believe it. I sent one of our guys out. His guy, my guy, they went out. I said, check, because I can't believe it. Well, sir, you're actually right. We have no deficit, but that doesn't include energy and timber. We're talking about Canada. You know how the timber comes. And when you do, we lose $17 billion a year. It's incredible.
Right, it is incredible that the President of the United States would lie to the Prime Minister of a foreign country and then would go before a group of billionaires or wealthy people, let's say, and brag about it. And they would think it was funny. What does this say to any other foreign leader? This is, it's a variation on Trump. Trita Parson and I were talking about this yesterday, and he actually had, a rational explanation for what Trump might be trying to do. I'm not sure, but, basically Trump is doing two things at the same time. He's saying to North Korea, we would like you to suspend your nuclear program. In exchange for that, we'll make an agreement with you. We'll make a commitment to you. And then he's saying, but, when we asked Iran to suspend their nuclear program and we made an agreement with them and a commitment to them, we're going to tear that up. We don't care. Yes, they're in compliance, but so what? We don't like what they're doing. And, if you're Kim Jong-un, you're looking at this going, just like back when George W. Bush in 2002 said, that the axis of evil was Iraq, North Korea, and Iran. And immediately Iran and North Korea got nuclear weapons, and Saddam Hussein said, oh, I'm not the axis of evil. I'm just writing a romance novel, 3-part romance novel, which he was, actually. That's what Saddam Hussein was doing. Writing some, lurid version of the Tales of the Arabian Nights or something. And he let the inspectors come into his country, and they searched high and low and all over, and Scott Ritter and Hans Blix, and you remember all that, and everybody said, nope, he's got no weapons of mass destruction, and Bush said, well, I'm going to bomb him back to the Stone Age anyway. And we destroyed their country. And by the way, Larry Kudlow, who's going to be Bush's new economic advisor, he went on television back in 2002 and said, if we invade Iraq, it's going to be a big economic help for the United States. He also, in 2007 and early 2008, as we were sliding into the worst recession since the Great Depression, said, oh, everything's going to be fine, keep buying stock, it's all good. Anybody who followed Larry Kudlow's advice got wiped out. Brilliant. But back to Trump. This, lying to Justin Trudeau is a huge deal. Can you imagine if Barack Obama had been caught in a lie to a foreign leader? They would be having impeachment hearings right now. or Bill Clinton. I mean, the Republicans are so selective in their outrage. It is absolutely astonishing. There's a lot of other things in the news today that I want to get to. We're going to have some interesting conversations, too. Richard Wolff will be with us. Bernie might be with us. Let's see here. There's, and we're going to check in with Evan Greer, campaign director of Fight for the Future, and find out what's going on with net neutrality as we go through the 3 hours of our program today. But an interesting piece over at Scientific American. It's by Martin Sismar. Oh, this is the raw story version of it, actually. And the headline is, "White Men Stockpile Guns Because They're Scared of Black People and Feel Inadequate," says Science. And the article, just comes right out and says it. These are men, this is quoting from the Scientific American article, "These are men who are anxious about their ability to protect their who are that 3% of Americans who own half of the guns in this country, right? The serious, the people who own lots and lots of guns. Who are they? That 3%. These are men who are anxious about their ability to protect their families, insecure about their place in the job market, and beset by racial fears," writes Scientific American. "They tend to be less educated for the most part. They don't appear to be religious, and suggests one study, faith seems to reduce their attachment to guns. In fact, stockpiling guns seems to be a symptom of a much deeper crisis in meaning and purpose in their lives." These people were emotionally and morally attached to their gun. They were 65% male and 78% white. Quote, "We found that white men who have experienced economic setbacks or worry about their economic futures are the group of owners most attached to their guns." This is one of the Baylor sociologists. He said those with high attachment felt that having a gun made them a better and more respected member of their communities. The sociologist said the gun is the ubiquitous symbol of power and independence. I would say it's also a phallic symbol. Well, in fact, he goes on, "Guns therefore provide a way to regain their masculinity, which they perceive has been eroded by increasing economic impotency," or impotency, or however you say that word. We started this thing called the Small Penis Gun Club, and somebody else has a version of it over on Facebook. And smallpenisgunclub.net, .org, .com, redirect to various places, and kind of making fun of those men. This article says that's really the wrong way to do it. When you make fun of them, you make them crazier, you make them worse. What we need to do is figure out why they feel so impotent, and obviously the reason, in large part, is economic. It's 30 years, 35, 37 years of Reaganomics has ripped apart the American dream, the American compact, the expectation that you can get ahead, in particular for the white men who were the principal beneficiaries not only of a good economy back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, but also of their own white privilege. And now that white privilege is being challenged, and the economy is falling out from underneath them, and they're freaking out, and they're pointing at people of color as the objects of their pain. And to prove how that's going, Joe Madison sent me a link to this amazing article. This is over at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. This is a school district in Minnesota. The Oconomowoc Area School District is limiting discussions about social privilege after Martin Luther King Day exercise that touched on the subject of white privilege set off a firestorm in that predominantly white community, writes Ansia Johnson for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The superintendent of schools is Roger Rindo, and he said, quote, "Schools are a microcosm of their communities, and we had parents in our community who felt like the concept of privilege went a little far, particularly for some of our younger students." A parent in the school district, Amanda Hart, says, "I don't know how you can have a discussion about race without discussing privilege to give our students a complete picture." She says, "Even if you don't agree with the concept of white privilege, it's part of helping students become critical thinkers. At least you talk about it, right?" Well, apparently, no. Apparently, in that school district, they're saying, no, we're not even going to talk about it. So, all kinds of strange stuff in the news today. But Donald Trump admitting, not just admitting that he, quote, makes up facts, but bragging about lying to a foreign leader. This is astonishing. Meanwhile, the Mueller investigation continues. Paul Manafort's trials and tribulations continue. It's getting strange out there. When is he going to lash out against this?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Will be the moment of maximum danger for our republic, is the moment that Donald Trump feels that he or his family members are actually in danger. And welcome back. Let's see here. John in Vernon Hills, Illinois, watching us on Free Speech TV. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Great to talk to you again, sir.
Thank you.
First of all, I have a question and then an opinion.
Okay.
The question is, other than voting the mostly criminal party out, is there any other way that we can reduce their impact?
Voting is clearly the final product of everything, but along the way, yeah, I think the way you reduce the impact of things like the Fox propaganda channel, what they're on MSNBC they're calling Trump TV, right-wing hate radio, things like that. The way that you reduce their influence is by exposing people to a counter narrative, to another story, to the other side of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. And that, I think, means telling your friends about Free Speech TV, telling them about websites like Alternet. I've got a new piece up there today, Truth Out, Common Dreams, the progressive websites. Signing up with groups like Indivisible or whatnot, Our Revolution, things like that, and trying to get other people involved in that. Does that answer your question, John?
Yes, to the most part, Tom. And the other thing is, I am so proud of the young people that took off from school and are really,
you turn him up a little, Sean? I can hardly hear.
Assault weapons. They are fabulous, and they are our future.
Yeah, I'm with you. John, thank you very much for the call. Very, very well said, and totally agree with you. Al in Buffalo, New York. Hey, Al, what's up?
How are you today?
I'm well. I hope you are too.
I think you're touching on something, Tom, that we as Democrats have to stop attacking Trump every day, nonstop. Joe Scarborough, nonstop.
Well, Joe Scarborough is a Republican, or at least was.
Well, yes, but he claims to have registered as an independent, but
right.
It's not just him. It's Rachel Maddow. It's CNN. Well, everybody from Rachel
So
Maddow.
you want us to do like Fox News does, like all day yesterday? They just pretended that the school shooting walkout didn't happen, right? It just didn't show up on the news on Fox.
That's not what I'm saying. I think we need to point out what you just pointed out, and that's the fact that new boss is the same as the old boss. George Bush resembles everything what Donald Trump has already assembled.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
It's just that George Bush did it with a little bit of class, and he knew how to handle the media.
Well, I don't care how you get screwed. You get screwed by somebody that's, doing it, and they're being smart about it. But
yeah, Reagan did it with full Hollywood, it was just...
Right. Well, Reagan was a little bit different, though. You have to admit. But Bush was a special kind of person because, he can hide under the spotlight now because, every day all you hear is Trump. Trump.
Yeah, you've got Republicans actually nostalgic for George W. Bush, which is bizarre. And I've even heard Democrats say that, which is even more bizarre. Al, thanks for the call. Good points all. And thanks for watching Free Speech TV on your cable system there. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 21 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. One other thing I wanted to point out to you, the Fox News channel yesterday on multiple occasions, and MSNBC did a great segment on this morning. It's over on Media Matters. I'm sure as the day goes on, it's going to migrate all over the internet and various news sites. Kept repeating the lie that Trump said that Conor Lamb ran as a Republican. In fact, Paul Ryan essentially said this. Yeah, the fact that Conor Lamb didn't explicitly support an assault weapons ban, which would have been unpopular in his district because some hunting rifles would fall under that ban, and there's a lot of hunters in rural Pennsylvania and whatnot. So he didn't explicitly support that. But Conor Lamb campaigned for universal health care. It's right on his website. Health care should be a right, not a privilege. He campaigned against Donald Trump's tax cut. He said it was a giveaway to rich people, and it was screwing the average person. He campaigned for expanded background checks with regard to guns. So he is in favor of strengthening our gun laws. He campaigned, most importantly, for stronger unions. The Republican Party has been on a tear against unions ever since 1935. Reagan's signature achievement was destroying America's union movement. And Conor Lamb campaigned for stronger unions. He campaigned against Republican cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Conor Lamb campaigned for a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. And he campaigned for medical marijuana. That makes him a what? As far as I can tell, that makes him a Democrat and very close to being, if not, a progressive Democrat, a pragmatic progressive Democrat. And yet, you got Trump lying about this. You've got Fox News lying about this. You've got Paul Ryan lying about this. Literally, the story that Republicans are telling themselves right now, and I'm sure Right Wing Hate Radio is doing it too, is that, oh yeah, that Conor Lamb guy, he just ran as Republican light, and that's why he got elected. Just stick with the Republicans. Well, you guys keep telling yourselves that. And people like Conor Lamb, who are actual Democrats and hold actual progressive policy positions, are going to keep winning elections. And they're going to keep activating people because the people in this country know what's going on. We're not stupid. We can see what's going on. So all that said, Stephanie in Kankakee, Illinois. Hey, Stephanie, what's on your mind today?
Hey, what's on my mind was just what you were saying, basically. People think there was a lot of things that got Trump in office, and one was that people said he spoke like us. We live in a media world where people want to surround themselves in a bubble with only people that believe what they want to believe, and they'll lie and make up stuff. I mean, all week, it's marching, and yesterday these grown adults were trolling these young people, and making up stuff. One person said that there was a big riot in Stockton, and they tore up the Walmart. And I'm like, okay, well, show me where that happened. Show me, because the Stockton police said it was, smooth. But they said, well, if I believe it, I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to post it. And if you have the president lying to another statesman from another country because he wanted an agenda pushed through that he felt he needed, where is our country going to if this is what our leader is doing? And that's why they voted on him, because it didn't matter if he's wrong. As long as he did what they wanted him to do, and if he had to lie to get what they needed him to get, they accepted it.
Yeah, this is basically the evangelical argument. We don't care what kind of man he is. We still think Jesus would love him. I don't. It's bizarre. It's just bizarre. Stephanie, you've identified it really, really well, and thank you for the call. You said it very well, and where is our country headed? Into a crisis. That's the problem. I mean, we are on, I wouldn't say on the brink of nuclear war with either Russia or China, but we could be pushed into it in a matter of days. I mean, both those relationships are so fragile, not to mention North Korea and a few others.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And when we need a real, John Kennedy Cuban Missile Crisis cool head in the White House, we get Donald Trump? Oh my God. Save us. If you believe that the message of Free Speech TV, if you believe that an honest, clear, progressive message needs to be carried to more people in the United States, well, and frankly around the world with the web platform, but principally in the United States here via Dish and Direct and all the cable systems we're on, if you think that this is an important voice, if you have friends that you want to introduce to Free Speech TV and my show and Amy's show and Steph, whatever it may be, if you think this is of value, call now, 877-378-8669, and make a contribution to keep Free Speech TV on the air. That's literally what we're talking about right now, is keeping the lights on, keeping the electrons flowing, keeping this show on your TV. And the only way it happens, literally the only way it happens, is if you make a donation. 2% of Free Speech TV viewers contribute to Free Speech TV in any given year. We need to raise that to 4 or 5 or 6%. If you've never made a donation to Free Speech TV before, now is a great time to become part of our family. 877-378-8669. With a $30 contribution, you get your choice of one of 4 bumper stickers. The Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 gift, you get a Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, a Free Speech TV blue grocery bag, and a lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign that says Love Conquers Hate. With a $72 gift, you get the 4 bumper stickers, all 4 that I mentioned, including the Free Speech TV blue logo, the This Is Not Normal, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. That's the 4 bumper stickers with the $72 gift. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my book, Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, and an autographed photo of me in Cuba in February of 2018, a couple weeks ago. With a $240 gift, you get a Free Speech TV t-shirt, complete with the Building a Just World logo on one side and Standing in Unity on the other side. The Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, my book, Unequal Protection, and Bonnie Siegler's book, Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get an autographed book by me, Unequal Protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. It's the story of Black Lives Matters. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This Is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
2 minutes.
But the only way to get it is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution. The headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt, running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please. 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help. Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Just another example. By the way, I wrote a piece that's over on alternet.org right now about, a government of billionaires and oligarchs, how Jimmy Carter said we're an oligarchy, not a democracy, with unlimited political bribery. The proof of this is Mike Pompeo rising to the top after, giving a daily tongue bath to Donald Trump, since he decided that instead of having a professional CIA briefer provide the president's daily brief, that he would do it himself, et cetera. Learning how to suck up to oligarchs seems to be the skill set necessary in this White House. On the line with us, Senator Bernie Sanders, our old friend of the show, sanders.senate.gov, of course, his website. You can tweet him at SEN Sanders or at Bernie Sanders. Senator, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Tom. How are you?
I am great. Back in January, you did a town hall, as I recall, on Facebook and whatnot, on Medicare for All, and got millions of viewers and participants. You've got another one coming up?
We do. On Monday night at 7 o'clock, we're going to be doing a live stream, and the topic is going to be the decline of the American middle class, the rise of oligarchy. It really is going to be a unique type of town hall, certainly one that is televised. We're going to have Elizabeth Warren on. We're going to have Michael Moore. I know you know Michael.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have Derek Hamilton, who's a professor of economics and urban policy at the New School. And I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, as you well know, Tom, corporate media often does not focus on the main issues impacting working people throughout this country. And that's what I wanted to do here, and get into some depth about why the middle class for 40 years has been in decline, why we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, why we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all or paid family and medical leave, why our kids are leaving college deeply in debt and others can't afford to go to college, what the decline of the trade union movement has meant to decent wages, what bad trade policies have meant to the deindustrialization of the country, et cetera, et cetera. So we got some great panelists. We're going to be focusing on extreme poverty, why the middle class has declined, and where do we go from here? How do we create an economy that works for all? So those are some of the issues.
That's marvelous stuff. I'm looking forward to that. That's next Monday?
That'll be Monday at 7 o'clock. It will be
Eastern Time.
Held at Eastern Time. It will be held at the auditorium at the Visitor Center in the Capitol, so anybody in the Washington area might want to come. And it will be live streamed on my Facebook, on Michael Moore's, Elizabeth Warren's, Young Turks, and a bunch of Act TV, Now This, The Guardian. So we're going to have, I think, a very large viewing audience. That's great. You should get Free Speech TV in on that one, too. We'd love to. Anybody and everybody, we'd love to. And we'll continue to do these programs. We want to work with as many progressive outlets as we can. And the goal here is to really tell corporate media that the American people want serious discussion about serious issues, not just
political gossip.
Right. And in the context of serious discussion about serious issues, while I have you here, what are you seeing as the biggest issues in front of us right now that we should be paying attention to, and in particular that we should be citizen lobbying our elected representatives over?
Well, there are a whole lot of issues that are out there that we're working hard on. I have a resolution that will be coming to the floor of the Senate, I think on Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday. It's a privileged motion, which demands that a vote be taken, and will be taken, on use of U.S. military force in Yemen. And the issue here, it may not seem like a very important issue, but it is. And not only because Yemen is right now, as a result of a Saudi-led attack, undergoing massive suffering and a real humanitarian crisis. This is a very poor country to begin with. But what I have sensed for many, many years is that the Congress has abdicated its constitutional responsibility to make decisions regarding war and given that over to presidents, whether they're Democratic or Republican presidents. So, I mean, all of us who are old enough remember the horrors of Vietnam and other American military interventions. And what the Constitution is very clear about, it is that the Congress determines whether or not the United States gets militarily involved, goes to war, not the president. I want to reassert that authority and want to debate on Yemen. Obviously, the other issue that is on people's minds as a result of that terrible shooting in Parkland, Florida, is the need for gun safety legislation. And yesterday I thought was rather an extraordinary day in that young people from all over the country, including Washington, D.C., here in Vermont, came out onto the streets, and they said that it cannot just be the NRA that determines gun policy in this country, that there's sensible gun safety legislation supported by the vast majority of the American people, whether it's improving or expanding background checks, doing away with the gun show loophole, doing away with the so-called straw man provision, allowing people to legally buy guns and then selling them to people who shouldn't have them, or whether it's banning assault weapons. There is growing sentiment that we need Congress to act. Unfortunately, in Washington, the Republicans are beholden to the NRA, not to the American people. But that is a fight that has to be waged. I would say that health care remains a major issue. I think what they have discovered is in that special election in Pennsylvania, there was significant opposition to the Republican effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act, throw millions of people off of the health care they have. As you know, I happen to believe that the United States should join the rest of the industrialized world and move toward a Medicare for all single-payer system. But health care remains a very important issue. High cost of prescription drugs is a huge issue. And, of course, the whole Trump presidency. We can go on for 18 hours about that one. But, stopping his effort to divide us up based on the color of our skin or the country we came from or our sexual orientation, our religion, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So those are some of the issues that I've been
on the walkout by the kids yesterday in school. Here on Free Speech TV and some of the and Sirius XM Progress, progressive television, progressive radio. In fact, Free Speech TV is the largest progressive television network in the United States. It's 60 million homes, I believe they're in. We covered it really well, but my understanding from the media overview I'm doing this morning is that Fox News, owned by billionaire Rupert Murdoch, basically pretended it wasn't happening. How do we get through to people who are living in the right-wing media bubble, Go ahead. First
of all, congratulations, and I know that you and others, I think Nina Turner is also working in Free Speech TV. Yeah. And that's a very important part of what we need to do. And I know you've been doing this for years on your radio show. And I really do applaud you, because what we see with corporate control over the media is right-wing billionaires like Rupert Murdoch and others controlling major parts of television and radio. And you have areas in the United States of America where people are absolutely unfamiliar with the progressive ideas, which I think if they heard they would be supportive of. But they're not hearing them. They're certainly not going to hear them on Fox. And I think, the answer, what I have been trying to do, Tom, is just visit many of the states that Trump has won. And I think that's what, national Democrats should be doing, is getting out there and talking to people in Trump land. I was just last week, as a matter of fact, I was in Texas. I went to a town called Lubbock, Texas. I don't know if you get this. The show get into Lubbock, Texas?
Yeah. Anybody with Sirius XM certainly can get us there. Anybody with the internet can get us there. Anybody with Dish Network or DirecTV can get us there. So, yeah,
there you go.
We have listeners
Here you
and viewers.
have a town at Lubbock, Texas city, which voted 2-1 for Trump, and yet you have 45% of the people either Latino or African American, and the rest of the people, almost all of them, everybody, is working for really low wages. So you got whites working for low wages, Latinos working for low wages, blacks working for low wages, and 2 out of 3 people there vote for Mr. Trump. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are not hearing what a progressive vision is about. So we had a great rally. We were in Lubbock. We had like 1,300 people out. We did a rally in San Antonio, just a huge turnout there. We did something in Phoenix, Arizona, also a great turnout. And, what Democrats cannot continue to do is just spend their time on the East Coast and the West Coast. We got to get to the rest of the country, where I think when you talk about the need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, talk about health care for all, you talk about asking, demanding that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes, that we make public colleges and universities tuition free, that climate change is not a hoax, but one of the great environmental crises facing the entire world. I mean, you talk about those issues, people will say, yeah, that's right. But they're not going to agree with you. They don't know about it. So that's why we got to get out there through media and through personal appearances.
There you go. Senator Bernie Sanders, you've got a town hall coming up on Monday. You want to restate that real quick? And because I want people to show up.
It's going to be live streamed Monday night, 7 o'clock. It'll be on my Facebook page. It'll be on The Guardian, Young Turks, a whole lot of Facebook pages. I think people will find it very interesting discussion of income and wealth inequality in America and what that means for our country.
Sounds like a plan. Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much, Senator, for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom. Keep up the great work.
You too, sir. It's always great talking with you. Thank you. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the news of the day and my take on it, your take on it, your calls, whatnot. In just a few minutes, be sure to check out Bernie's site, sanders.senate.gov, and of course, ourrevolution.com, I think, is the more recent one. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It's coming up on 14 minutes before the hour. We'll be right back here on the Thom Hartmann Program, helping you win the water cooler wars. And welcome back. Denise, watching Free Speech TV in Calumet, Michigan. Hey, Denise, what's on your mind today?
Well, first I want to say that I'm proud to be part of 2% of something, which is the Free Speech Comrades.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for being part of our family.
And I encourage anybody that's on a fixed income like we are to just make that monthly donation. You don't even miss it once you start doing it. We've been doing it for quite a few years now.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a large amount. Even, $5 a month is a big deal to Free Speech TV if a lot of people do it, for example.
Yep. So that makes me happy. I feel privileged to be able to be part of your world.
Thank you.
The Michigan schools, the legislature in Michigan has voted to let the charter schools share in the taxes that the public schools get. So all of Betsy DeVos's lies and the way she's trashed our school system in Michigan is working. Now they're going to start sharing the money per student that the schools get with the charter schools.
This is a brand new event?
Yep, it happened within the last month.
Whoa.
The House voted it.
So basically what happened is that the charter schools are now being treated as fully public schools, period.
Right.
Even if they're for profit, even if they're run by Scientology or the Wahhabis from Saudi Arabia, or even if they're, whatever they may be.
Yep, exactly.
Remarkable.
Just wanted you to know that. And then the other thing we heard, Kimberly-Clark, the big paper corporation that works a lot in the upper Wisconsin area, and a lot of Michiganders get to work, across the border.
Right.
They got $768 million from this tax thing that Trump did.
Yep.
And they're laying off 5,000 people.
Well, of course, take the money and run. That's
Yep.
kind of the official, oligarchic American business model strategy these days. And
yep. So
that's a terrible
schools
thing.
everything's going down, but we got to keep fighting.
Yeah.
So I'm proud to be part of the Comrades for Freedom.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Denise. Great talking with you. I appreciate the call. Cassandra in Middleton, Wisconsin. Hey, Cassandra, what's up?
Hello, Thom Hartmann. I want to say I am delighted to be a student in the Thom Hartmann University.
Well, thank you. We just have a minute, though, so let's get right to your question or your comment.
Well, my comment here is that I attended my local Democrat county meeting, and one of the everyone is trying to understand why the Hillary vote and why Trump won Wisconsin. And Kathleen Vineholt, she is running. She's a state senator, and she's running for governor. And she has some very interesting statistics about it. And she cited that the voters who are voting in many of the gubernatorial races, all of these voters, a majority of them, they are qualitatively different. The Republican Party are very good at getting 90% of potential voters, whereas Democrats, we get roughly 72% of our potential voters. And so, and also on top of that, there is about 10 to 15% of those are newly registered voters who will vote one time and then they will drop off.
Yeah.
So, and I'd just like for you to comment on it after.
Sure. I think what we're seeing is I believe the voter suppression plays a big role in this. There's 40,000 Wisconsinites who were not allowed to vote in the last election because they didn't have the right ID, and that was less than Trump's margin of victory. In Washington, Delaware. Hey, Andy, thanks for listening to SiriusXM. What's on your mind today?
Tom, earlier you mentioned a study about guns and self-image.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on that today. I know a lot of folks with guns, and I don't know anybody that has a serious self-image problem, but it definitely...
Andy, it wasn't so much self-image like I was frankly ridiculing with the Small Venus Gun Club. It was more what they were saying was that people who are facing economic insecurity, people who are unsure about their ability to pay, to feed their families over the long term, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, those are the folks, particularly when they're white, who tend, and white people who have had very little contact in their lives with people of color, and men. Those are the groups who tend to be part of that 3% of gun owners in the United States who own 50% of all the guns in the United States. That was the essence of the study.
Yeah, I get that. But what I want to touch on is that group of people. If you're having tough times, you buy a gun, you're automatically a member of a club. You already have a group of people that will embrace you because you have a gun. And add to that the merchandising. Now, if you take a look at any gun magazine, Tom, or any compare it to a skiing magazine or a fishing magazine, you will find that, first of all, R&D departments of every one of these gun manufacturers are trying to make these things more and more lethal, more and more sexy, more chrome, bigger calibers, and on top of that, go onto YouTube and watch how fast you can reload a handgun. You can learn how to do that on a handgun.
Sure. Well, and there's autoloaders too if you want to do it really fast.
You can.
Even with a revolver.
30-round clip.
Yeah.
You can get a 30-round clip for a Glock, and you can actually train and learn how to do a quick reload. In other words, you can shoot off 60 rounds in 1 minute easy if you just practice a little bit. So when you think about the fact that most shooters, for instance, in schools, are suicidal, they want to have a gunfight. They want somebody to engage. Besides just kids that are sitting there, you will give them that satisfaction if you got somebody else in there shooting back at them. But the fact is, you can be just as lethal with a handgun, and I think a lot of the emphasis on the AR-15, whereas it's very a deadly gun, if you're able to shoot, 60 rounds a minute with a couple of clips.
This is why the assault weapons ban banned these large magazines and why we need to go back to it, number one. Number two, you can't be as lethal as you are with an AR-15 because of the way that the bullet impacts the body with an AR-15. It just rips things apart inside in ways that you have to use special ammunition to get out of a pistol.
Add to that the Teflon bullet. You can buy legally a Teflon bullet.
Yeah, these cop killer bullets and whatnot that will even penetrate body armor.
See, I don't know how you're going to change people's minds when it comes to if I feel good because I own a gun. You have to be able to change that. You have to break that. I don't know how you're going to do that.
No, I get it, and I think that the way you do it is by changing culture. Right now, when somebody gets a concealed carry permit, and they've got a gun in their car, or on their person, they're feeling pretty good. Hey, I got some protection. I've got some power here. I've got authority. And instead, if that were in another culture, if that person were, in Great Britain, for example, they would be feeling like, whoa, I've got this really dangerous weapon here, and I've got to take really good care of it, and I've got to be really careful about it. It's like our media. And you're absolutely right about the gun magazines and the whole gun culture thing. I mean, as I've told the story a million times, I go back to Michigan for Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays, and things like that. And my brothers and I go out shooting. There's a gun range down in Mason, just south of Lansing, and that we go to all the time. And there's a real sense of camaraderie among the guys there. And hey, we're all shooting enthusiasts and like that. And that comes out of culture. That comes out of also all the way back to when I was a little kid in the 50s. I mean, watching the John Wayne and the westerns, and the gunslingers and all that kind of stuff. We have been kind of prepped for this. We've been trained for this. But I think that is not the case with the generation that walked out of school yesterday. I think that generation views guns completely differently from basically every other generation that preceded them. This is arguably the first generation to view guns right from the get-go. I mean, these kids who walked out last week were being born or were little kids around the time of Newtown, and there's never been a time in their lives when there weren't mass shootings in schools, and they view guns as existential threats to their lives, and so.
Tom, can I say one?
Yeah, we got 5 seconds. Sure.
Okay, one thing. Those kids are acting in an act of self-preservation. No one is saving them. They've got to save themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why they're acting.
You're absolutely right. And I was talking with Louise about this last night. I said, during Vietnam, we were convinced that our government was trying to kill us, and they were. I mean, they killed 57,000 of us. These kids are feeling the same way. And I think just like our generation changed America because of Vietnam, I think these kids are going to change America and probably do it younger than I did.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com.
If you believe that the message of Free Speech TV, if you believe that an honest, clear, progressive message needs to be carried to more people in the United States, well, and frankly around the world with the web platform, but principally in the United States here via Dish and Direct and all the cable systems we're on, if you think that this is an important voice, if you have friends that you want to introduce to Free Speech TV and my show and Amy's show and Steph, whatever it may be, if you think this is of value, call now, 877-378-8669, and make a contribution to keep Free Speech TV on the air. That's literally what we're talking about right now, is keeping the lights on, keeping the electrons flowing, keeping this show on your TV. And the only way it happens, literally the only way it happens, is if you make a donation. 2% of Free Speech TV viewers contribute to Free Speech TV in any given year. We need to raise that to 4 or 5 or 6%. If you've never made a donation to Free Speech TV before, now is a great time to become part of our family. 877-378-8669. With a $30 contribution, you get your choice of one of 4 bumper stickers. The Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 gift, you get a Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, a Free Speech TV blue grocery bag, and a lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign that says Love Conquers Hate. With a $72 gift, you get the 4 bumper stickers, all 4 that I mentioned, included the Free Speech TV blue logo, the This Is Not Normal, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. That's the 4 bumper stickers with the $72 gift. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my book, Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, and an autographed photo of me in Cuba in February of 2018, a couple weeks ago. With a $240 gift, you get a Free Speech TV t-shirt, complete with the Building a Just World logo on one side and Standing in Unity on the other side. The Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, my book, Unequal Protection, and Bonnie Siegler's book, Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get an autographed book by me, Unequal Protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. It's the story of Black Lives Matters. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This Is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
2 minutes.
But the only way to get it is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV T-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution. The headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt, running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please. 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help.
I'm Nina Turner, and you're watching Free Speech TV.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. On the line with us, Professor Richard Wolff, the author of Capitalism's Crisis Deepens, Essays on the Global Economic Meltdown, among many other books, the co-founder of Democracy at Work, an actual economist as compared to Larry Kudlow, and his website, democracyatwork.info, rdwolf with 2fs.com. You can tweet him at Prof. Wolff, as in Professor Wolff, P-R-O-F-W-O-L-F-F. Professor Wolff, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to be here.
It's always great having you with us. I mentioned Larry Kudlow. I'm guessing, as a New Yorker and a fellow who's familiar with the media circuits and whatnot, and certainly as an economist, that you are familiar at the very least with Larry Kudlow. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's kind of sad. If I can be allowed to be humorous for a moment, I've noticed that each president that we have looks better with hindsight after the next one arrives. You kind of appreciate the one that went before because the latest one is even worse. And I think Mr. Kudlow, unfortunately, fits the bill perfectly. I don't want to speak well of Gary Cohn. There were serious problems, of course, with having a Goldman Sachs banker in the position of chief economic advisor. But compared to Larry Kudlow, he at least had the experience of rising through the ranks and being an international banker. Mr. Kudlow hasn't had much in the way of economics education. That would be all right if he had something else to recommend him, but he really doesn't. He's made predictions, most of which are completely nuts and didn't come true. He's a promoter on television for the existing system, and indeed for Mr. Trump's notions of how the world works. And so this is a yes man. This is a person who's a promoter, who has gone along with the plan, who has touted what it was important to say, and any notion of an independent, evaluative person advising the president, that just flew out the window. There wasn't much of it with Gary Cohn. Now that he got what he was there for, which was to get the big tax cut, he's not really there, needed anymore. And you can default, if you like, to this guy who will simply mouth off whatever it is that they think is convenient to be said.
Meanwhile, yesterday, the Republicans pushed through their bill to increase deregulation of banks, and there's a giant kiss to the bigger banks, not the very biggest, but and apparently it's going to help some of the very biggest too. And a number of Democrats voted with them in the Senate. It's over at the House now. What does this tell you about the state of our political, our body politic?
Well, it confirms something that really ought to worry most of the American people. Let me give an example. After the great crash of the 1930s, when it was crystal clear that one of the components of that crash was the risky mistakes made by banks lending money to folks who couldn't pay it back, they should have known it. That is their job. They failed, and they helped bring on the Great Depression. So that after that happened, we had the Glass-Steagall, this law which said if you're a commercial bank taking deposits, you can't go into risky investments. It was a way to try to cope. What we saw in the years afterwards was the systematic effort of the banking industry, first to evade Glass-Steagall, then to weaken it, and finally under Bill Clinton to repeal it altogether. The only difference between that and what was just done in the U.S. Senate to the Dodd-Frank bill was that this time it took a much lower number of years to have the same thing done. First they evaded it and delayed it, the Dodd-Frank. Now they have major weakened it. And I would expect in a couple of years, if Mr. Trump is still the president and the GOP is in charge, they'll take the final step with Dodd-Frank that they took with Glass-Steagall. It really leads you to say with a shake of the head, don't they ever learn that letting the private banking sector push for its profitability while playing with our money supply is a very dangerous way to do something as important as manage your money? We don't seem to be able to learn the lesson.
Yeah, it seems. What do you see as the solution to that?
I don't think you can allow, let me give an example. It's like the military. We don't allow private enterprises to run the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and so on. We understand that to be some sort of social, national responsibility that shouldn't be in private hands, rather like our public parks often and a whole lot of other things. Those are no less or more important than the money supply. Why do we allow something as important to every single one of us every day as the money we have, the cost of money, what we call the interest rate, and so on? Why do we allow that to be manipulated by private institutions who openly say that maximizing profit is their number one objective, their so-called bottom line? We then live with the results as a society of what a small minority of us are doing to maximize the profits of banks and lenders. This strikes me as crazy. We ought to have a nationalized state banking system. By the way, the very thing that North Dakota has done for the last 100 years in that state. We should have it be run by the customers, individuals and businesses on the one hand, and cooperatively and democratically by the people who work there. That would be a way to assure that what the society needs governs the money supply rather than have it governed by the private profit objectives of the banks.
So you're suggesting that every state change their laws to authorize state banking, and that all the state's business be done with the state bank, so all the profits from banking, instead of going to Goldman Sachs, go to the state, to the taxpayers, and that those state banks run on a not-for-profit basis can provide good competition to the for-profit banks who are merely bloating their profits? Is that the bottom line?
Absolutely, and to do it, and it doesn't have to be only at the state level. Municipalities can do this sort of thing with the municipal funds they have. For example, Santa Fe in New Mexico is experimenting with this. It exists already in a few other cities, and it can be done at the federal level as well. But that it's understood to be a social service, the money supply, and not an opportunity for private private profit, especially now that we've had major collapses of our economic system, 2 of them in the last 75 years, directly attributable to the mistaken profit-seeking activity of private banks.
Yeah, this makes perfect sense. The capitalism's crisis deepens is the title of your most recent book, and I'd like to talk about that. The crisis of capitalism. I often refer to where we're at right now as the cancer stage of capitalism, where we're basically it's turned our political system into an oligarchy, and it's turned our economic system into semi-monopolies, and in every single industrial sector. Or not even industrial. Every single sector of business in the United States seems to be dominated by 4 or 5, companies that basically act as cartels. Beyond the fairly straightforward answer of worker-owned cooperatives and beneficent corporations, B corporations, and some of these things that are great straightforward things, but how do we challenge this head on? What do we do about the excesses of capitalism? Or do we simply say, that's it, capitalism just isn't working, here's the alternative?
Well, I mean, yes, I say exactly that it isn't working. Or to be more accurate, it is working for the top 5 or 10%. It isn't working for the vast majority of people. And the ultimate criterion for any economic system ought to be, especially in our society, whether it is the thing that is best for the majority of people. I think that worker co-ops is a major direction, but I'm sure that there are other ways we can move forward. But the precondition for all of them, and here's where, I hope you don't get embarrassed, but I compliment you. We have to have the long-delayed national conversation that has basically been a taboo in our country for the last 50 years. We have to say that if it's possible for us as a nation to debate our education system, our very marriage institution, basic parts of our lives, well, that has to apply to our economic system too. We cannot continue to pretend as though capitalism is the only way to go. Capitalism is the best thing since sliced bread. In the sad words of Mrs. Pelosi responding to that clever college student during the last year, when he asked about this question, that she looked befuddled and answered him, well, we're all capitalists now. The answer is we're not. We can't afford that anymore. We have let our system give it a pass in a way from the criticism it deserved. And like any institution, if you don't criticize it, you don't identify its flaws, you don't debate the new ways to go beyond them, I have no doubt that the American people have the creativity to come up with, whether it's worker co-ops or state banks or dozens of other ideas that have been around on the edges of our society, but we can't leave them there anymore because our system isn't working and we have to find a way out, or else, and I don't mean to be dark in my mood, if we don't fix it, we're going to go down with it, and that's a much scarier proposition that becomes realer each day, and Larry Kudlow is another small step in that process.
Brilliant. Professor Richard Wolff, economist, co-author of Democracy at Work, co-founder, Democracy at Work, author most recently of Capitalism's Crisis Deepens, democracyatwork.info, rdwolf.com, and you can tweet him at Prof. Wolf or at democracy@WRK. Professor Wolff, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom, and I look forward to talking with you again.
Me too. It's always great talking with you. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls here on your media support group for We the People, the Thom Hartmann Program. And welcome back. Let's see here. Mike in Lomita, California. Hey, Mike, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I was indoors most of yesterday and got to hear just about every corporate broadcast news show there was, local and network. And one story that showed up on every last show was a dreadful story about the puppy being asphyxiated in an overhead bin on an airline flight.
Correct.
But the one story that I heard only on Pacific Radio was that the state of Oklahoma is planning to do the same thing to human beings.
Right. They're going to, for a death penalty, they're going to put people in a box and fill it with nitrogen gas, which will deprive them of the ability to breathe, and off they go.
Yeah. Just thought that was a strange anomaly, that it's a story that's everywhere about the puppy, but nowhere about human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real interesting point, Mike, and well made. I mean, they're getting desperate for ways to kill people because the pharmaceutical industry is not cooperating. The doctors are not cooperating. I'm surprised that they chose nitrogen gas rather than carbon monoxide gas. Nitrogen gas, you're going to immediately perceive an oxygen deficiency and go into panicky breathing. And that's going to be real painful to watch somebody die that way. Whereas with carbon monoxide, because it has an oxygen bound to the carbon, the body thinks that it has oxygen. That's why carbon monoxide is so deadly. It doesn't cause panic breathing. You simply fall asleep and die.
And the affinity is something like 200 times more than O2 also, so it would be much quicker.
Yeah, it binds to hemoglobin just instantly, yeah. And not that I'm trying to help Oklahoma come up with better ways to kill people. I'm a total opponent to the death penalty, but it seems to me like, these guys are just bumblers. I mean, they first with the drugs, they get the wrong drugs. They're literally using as the sedation drug for some of these people, benzo drugs. It's hard to even overdose with benzo drugs, much less get full sedation. I mean, they're anti-anxiety drugs. It's just bizarre, and then the brutality of it. I think you're so right. The puppy story caught everybody's heart, right? Where the United flight attendant was, what is it, out of Dallas or Houston or something like that, I think it was.
Houston, I think.
Yeah, and forced this woman to put her dog in the overhead compartment, and presumably the overhead compartment did not provide the dog with the air necessary to breathe, and the dog suffocated, although we don't know exactly what killed the dog. That's just an assumption, but the dog was dead when she took it out of the overhead compartment, and she just sat there on the floor of the airplane and cried. And I guarantee you, if somebody in that plane had pulled out their camera phone, and that video would have gone super viral. But when we're talking about killing killers, we're a little more sanguine about it. And I think that's because we haven't had a good national discussion about the death penalty. Killing killers doesn't actually prevent other people from killing. In fact, there's some evidence that the death penalty actually increases the murder rate, because then people, people who are suicide inclined view murder as a way to get to their suicide via the state.
Or if you want to do away with someone, Oklahoma did away with somebody that deserved it. Why shouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if the state is killing people, then I'm justified in killing people, right? Because the state is the example. All great points, Mike. Very, very good points. Mike, thanks a lot for the call, and thanks for pointing it out. That's a good one. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 22 minutes past the hour.
I think that putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing.
It's 23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, helping you win the water cooler wars in the place where despair is not an option. We were talking about the administration being so, Donald Trump specifically, setting the tone for an entire administration, being so willing to lie that, I mean, he has embraced this. He wrote a book, The Art of the Deal, in which he suggested that you lie to people. He had a word for it, creative something, exaggeration or something like that. Tony Schwartz could tell you he was actually the author of the book, the ghostwriter for the book. And Trump has now brought this to the White House to the point where he's literally lying to foreign heads of state and then going to private groups of donors where he thinks it's not being recorded and bragging about the fact that he lied to a foreign head of state. Now, that's going to go all around the world just like that. And there's not a head of state left that's going to trust Donald Trump. All they're going to do is try to play him. And China, Saudi Arabia, and Japan have demonstrated how to do that. Shinzo Abe was the Japanese prime minister, the very first person to get into the White House to hang out with Donald Trump. All of a sudden, after a decade and a half, 2 decades of Japan bashing, and oh my God, Japan is buying America, and Japan doesn't trade fairly, and all this kind of stuff, all out the window as soon as Shinzo Abe is his new best friend. And, President Xi of China is looking at that going, oh, and the Saudis are looking at that going, we get it now. And so the Saudis bring Donald Trump over, and they have this giant parade, and there's all these TV monitors down, and giant posters with Trump's picture on them. And everywhere is Trump's picture, and it's a Trumpville now. Saudi Arabia has been turned into Trumpistan. And Trump loved it. And Wilbur Ross was like, wow, his billionaire commerce secretary was like, wow, there wasn't a single dissenting voice. I mean, people really love him there, not apparently realizing that in Saudi Arabia, if you speak out against the government, they will cut your head off. So anyhow, we have this administration that is so systemically corrupt when it comes to the truth, when it comes to dealing with actual matters of fact, whether it's global warming, whether it's the actual realities of the immigrant crisis in the United States and DACA and those kinds of things, and the crisis that immigrants are experiencing in this country, both legal and illegal, whether it's radical Islam versus the rest of Islam versus the rest of us, whether it's trade policy, whatever it may be, the Trump administration has by and large been blowing smoke, right? They've been gaslighting us. And now James Schwab, this guy James Schwab, he was the spokesperson out of San Francisco, the official government employee spokesperson for ICE, for the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. He has resigned because he refuses to lie on behalf of ICE. ICE directed him to lie, he says, and he is, or to, quote, deflect questions from the news media, was the phrase that he said. And, well, here's his actual quote. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. He says, I quit because I did not want to perpetuate misleading facts. Now, keep in mind, this is the official spokesman for ICE. He says, I asked them to change that information. I told them that the information was wrong. They asked me to deflect, and I didn't agree with that. Then I took some time. I think he meant to think about it, and I quit. Talk about courage. Right, giving up a job. This would be a well-paid job, and it is a federal job, so there's pensions and benefits and all kinds of stuff associated with it. And this guy had the courage to quit. I am really impressed. He is like our hero. And we need to be noticing when these kind of things happen. His name is James Schwab, and God bless him. This was all about how ICE was lying about the impact of what Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf had done in warning the immigrant community. So good on them. We'll pick up your phone calls after the break. Stick around. We're coming up on 28 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Defending America from the weapons of mass deception. Thom Hartmann with you. We'll be right back. If you believe that the message of Free Speech TV, if you believe that an honest, clear, progressive message
needs to be carried to more people in the United States, well, and frankly around the world with the web platform, but principally in the United States here via Dish and Direct and all the cable systems we're on. If you think that this is an important voice, if you have friends that you want to introduce to Free Speech TV and my show and Amy's show and Steph, whatever it may be, if you think this is of value, call now, 877-378-8669, and make a contribution to keep Free Speech TV on the air. That's literally what we're talking about right now, is keeping the lights on, keeping the electrons flowing, keeping this show on your TV. And the only way it happens, literally the only way it happens, is if you make a donation. 2% of Free Speech TV viewers contribute to Free Speech TV in any given year. We need to raise that to 4 or 5 or 6%. If you've never made a donation to Free Speech TV before, now is a great time to become part of our family. 877-378-8669. With a $30 contribution, you get your choice of one of 4 bumper stickers. The Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 gift, you get a Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, a Free Speech TV blue grocery bag, and a lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign that says Love Conquers Hate. With a $72 gift, you get the 4 bumper stickers, all 4 that I mentioned, included the Free Speech TV blue logo, the This Is Not Normal, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. That's the 4 bumper stickers with the $72 gift. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my book, Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, and an autographed photo of me in Cuba in February of 2018, a couple weeks ago. With a $240 gift, you get a Free Speech TV t-shirt, complete with the Building a Just World logo on one side and Standing in Unity on the other side. The Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, my book, Unequal Protection, and Bonnie Siegler's book, Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get an autographed book by me, Unequal Protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. It's the story of Black Lives Matters. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This Is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right. But the only way to get it is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution, the headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me and to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt, running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please, 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help. It's 34 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Talk media for the sane left among us. On the line with us, Evan Greer, the campaign director with fightforthefuture.org. Fightforthefuture.org is the website. Evan is an internationally touring musician and speaker. She writes regularly for The Guardian, Time, and Newsweek. Evan_Greer or Fight for the FTR are the two Twitter handles. Evan, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me back on, Tom.
Thanks for joining us. So, news happening in the net neutrality arena. Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, there's always something going on when it comes to net neutrality these days. But the latest is that California has now introduced what would become, if it passes, the strongest and most comprehensive net neutrality protections in the United States. So your listeners probably remember back December 14th, the FCC voted to gut basic protections that prevent internet service providers from slowing down content, blocking, censoring websites, and charging us all extra fees to access content online. And since then, several states have started considering or introducing legislation to kind of defy the FCC and ensure that internet providers in those states have to abide by these basic rules of the road in order to do business there. So Washington and Oregon have both passed bills with strong bipartisan support. And now we're seeing something in California that actually even goes a little further than those rules gutted at the FCC by specifically banning a harmful practice called zero rating. And we can go there next if you want, Tom.
Sure. Yeah. What is zero rating?
Evan, go for it. Sure. So zero rating essentially is when your internet service provider says you can use content from this website or this company, and it's not going to count against your data. Now, that sounds like a good thing. You're thinking, great, I want to be able to watch Netflix on my phone all day and not have it run up, my monthly data against my monthly data limit. That sounds like a good thing for consumers. But here's the problem. It breaks one of the fundamental principles of net neutrality that's made the internet such a diverse place where we have so many different viewpoints. And it would lead to the future of the internet looking more like cable TV, where it's essentially pay to play. This means that, for example, AT&T is already offering that you can use DirecTV on your AT&T devices without it counting against your data because they own DirecTV. So what we're going to see is these big telecom companies basically directing us, directing our eyes, directing our attention, directing how we consume information on the internet toward players that pay them money and away from places like, for example, the Thom Hartmann Program or any other alternative viewpoints that have been able to thrive and find an audience thanks to the internet being a level playing field for all. So essentially, this is one of those things where it's disguised as a benefit to consumers, but really it allows the biggest players to win and allows them to pick and choose what voices we hear on the internet.
Now, I read an article, I think it was in the Financial Times last week, about these laws in Oregon, California, Washington State, and other states considering them. Some of them just direct the state to not do business with any internet service provider who engages in any of these, practices. Others are specifically prohibiting the practices. Those that are prohibiting the practices, according to this article that I read, will be challenged in federal court by use of the Commerce Clause, saying that the federal government has the ultimate authority to regulate interstate commerce, and it is impossible to do anything on the internet, even
If I in Portland, Oregon sent my producer Sean in Portland, Oregon an email, it's probably going to go through a server in California on the way, and or New York or someplace. And therefore, the state cannot regulate internet service providers because they're participating in interstate commerce. Now, that seems like, frankly, a strong argument. I mean, Bobby Kennedy used interstate commerce, a very weak thread of interstate commerce, to segregate or to integrate lunch counters in the South in the 1960s. And the thing that he used to prove that he could send federal troops in and change the behavior of a locally owned lunch counter was the fact that they were using Heinz ketchup that was made in Pennsylvania, that they were serving, pickles that were made in Ohio, and that was enough. So, what do you think? I mean, is this going to be a challenge that could be successful?
So there's definitely going to be some court cases around these state-based laws, and one thing that is good about these initiatives is that they're keeping the ISPs busy. They should have to fight this patchwork of laws across the country. They're the ones that created this situation by spending a tremendous amount of money lobbying and in court trying to get the perfectly good federal net neutrality protections that we had struck down. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for them having to fight all those battles. But the reality is, there's a very strong legal foundation for many of these state-based bills, including the one in California. Another issue here is that the FCC, in their order, attempted to essentially ban states from doing things like this. But the experts, believe there's a real strong case to make in court that they weren't effective in doing that. That essentially by giving up the right, their own right to protect us from these types of ISP abuses, they therefore kind of abdicated on their right to ban other states or entities from attempting to do it in their stead. Now, beyond the FCC preemption, there's also an interesting thing to look at here, which is that you've probably been hearing, reading op-eds, some put out by, groups with nice names like the Progressive Policy Institute that keep saying, everyone loves net neutrality, but what we need to get it done with is bipartisan legislation. That's, of course, the magic words in Washington, D.C., bipartisan legislation on net neutrality to solve this once and for all. Now, there are bills that have been introduced by Republican Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee and a companion bill to that introduced by John Kennedy in Louisiana that are lovingly titled the Open Internet Preservation Act. Now, it sounds good on paper, right? But, of course, what it does is it actually undermines the FCC's ability to enforce net neutrality protections and would legally ban states from doing the types of things that we're seeing in California, Oregon, and Washington. So it's very important to understand this isn't even a weak net neutrality bill or a compromised net neutrality bill. This is an anti-net neutrality bill that's being packaged and sold by the cable companies and was likely drafted essentially by telecom lobbyists that's attempting to take energy away from the real path forward in Congress, which is for them to use the Congressional Review Act to overturn the FCC's decision and restore net neutrality protections for everyone so that people don't have to move to California if they don't want their cable company to decide what they can see and do on the internet.
And what's the status of that? Now, under the Congressional Review Act, the action of an administrative agency, an executive branch agency like the Federal Communications Commission, they take an action, in this case, Ajit Pai, the former Verizon lawyer who's the head of the FCC, blowing up net neutrality. That can be undone by Congress passing a resolution of disapproval, basically saying, no, we are the elected representatives of the people, not you, and we disagree with what you did. You must do it this way. We are the lawmakers. And I know that, you and I have talked a number of times. We're talking with Evan Greer, a campaign director of fightforthefuture.org. We've talked a number of times about this and encouraged people to call their senators, in particular, their members of Congress. 202-225-3121 is the main switchboard for Congress, and register that they would, please support a Congressional Review Act, basically condemnation of what Ajit Pai at the FCC did, blowing up net neutrality. What's the status of that, and what are there deadlines associated with that?
Yeah, so this is, again, kind of the primary focus of the fight right now in terms of what, if you're sitting at home listening and you say, I care about net neutrality, still, that is the most important thing that you can do is contact your member of Congress, especially if you live in a Republican state, and encourage them to support this CRA resolution that would restore net neutrality protections for everyone. So right now, the way this works, the CRA, unlike a normal piece of legislation, only requires 51 votes in the Senate, a simple majority in the U.S. Senate to pass. Right now, we've got 50 votes committed.
So we have every Democrat plus
both independents, plus Susan Collins from Maine.
Okay. And we
so
thought
now
we'd get John Kennedy, and now he's come out with this. He's the Republican for Louisiana. Now he's come out with this piece of legislation that actually makes the situation worse.
Right, which is in a mind-boggling twist on that, he's also still saying that he might support the CRA. So this, you know, you'd have to go ask him what he's thinking on this. I'm not really sure.
Or maybe he's just taken from the Trump playbook and just, you know, say whatever you think works. It doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Well, you know, I can't get in his head on that one. But what I can say is that there's, you know, about 8 other Republicans that have indicated that they're considering it or are considered likely to potentially vote on it, given the fact that 3 out of 4 Republican voters support net neutrality in principle, oppose what the FCC just did. 83% of voters from across the political spectrum. So a lot of these, you know, representatives that are considered likely live in, you know, purple districts or are Republican in, you know, a predominantly blue district. You know, so they got to worry about the fact that this is an issue that's overwhelmingly popular with voters from across the political spectrum. It's not like some other issues that are split down the middle. This is one where many of their own base, their own donors, their own people that go out and volunteer for them are going to be like, man, why are you messing up my internet? Why are you making it so that Comcast, which owns MSNBC, can direct me to MSNBC every time I get on my phone and I don't get to go on Twitter or to Fox News or wherever it is that they may want to go? So, you know, this is an issue that's not partisan outside of Washington, D.C., and that's why it's so important that we actually fight on it, because, you know, this is a simple up or down vote on net neutrality. That's what this CRA is, and that's how we need to treat it. And if your member of Congress doesn't support the CRA, they're against net neutrality, and they're not helping us win.
Amen. You can find out all about this or fightforthefuture.org, and if you want to call Congress, the number, once again, 202-225 or 224, both of them work, 3121, 202-225-3121. Evan Greer, thank you for being with us, Evan.
Thanks for having me back on, Tom.
Always great talking with you. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be back. We're going to check in with Talk Media News in a few minutes. And a little later on, well, I'll bring that up to you. And welcome back. Let's see here. Bill in Santa Maria, California. Hey, Bill, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's up?
Bill and Soon, to make it complete.
Oh, hey, Bill.
Your friends.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out something and get your take on it. Did you notice that global warming, our favorite topic that is really going to end all our fun someday if we're not careful, and it's coming up on us very fast. We're at 409 parts per million CO2 in the atmosphere now, which, they told us 350, never past 350. Well, we're headed towards 500 parts per million.
Right.
Well, the good news is that, to me, I'd love to hear your take, is capitalism is starting to be hurt by this, by climate change. The insurance business, Florida, Texas, Puerto Rico is a huge hit on insurance. Agriculture has been affected already. Studies have been done in California University Davis, Cal Davis, and they found that there was a $2.4 billion loss in the year they studied, which was 2014. Any outside work is being affected because they cannot put workers out there according to law when it's too hot. And, we're out here in the West, we're getting 100-degree temperatures all the time and up to 120. So, that's a big thing, too. And UPS, FedEx, lawn care, landscaping, there's a lot of work that's done outside, and those people have to be pulled in when it's too hot. Airplanes could not fly in Arizona at a certain period last year because it was too hot. The air is too thin. Commercial fishing is affected. Puerto Rico, all businesses were, essentially wiped out. Now, there is a group called Risky Business. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's Tom Steyer, Paulson, and Bloomberg have recognized this. My God, capitalism is under threat. Now it is important. And they put together this group that's talking about it. I haven't seen them do anything effective yet. I hope they do, because, capitalism is right on the chopping block with the rest of us. They got their neck down.
Well, at least the insurance industry is. Back in 1996, when I wrote Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, at that point in time, the reinsurance companies, which are the companies that backstop the insurance companies. In other words, if you run an insurance company, whether it's life insurance or flood insurance or whatever it may be, you actually have to have insurance for your insurance company, so that if you get hit with claims that exceed your reserves, then your insurance company will step in and fill your reserves. And these companies are called reinsurance companies. And in some areas of insurance, they're required or mandated by law. In other areas, they're optional. But with disaster insurance, I don't know if by law they're required, but all the insurance companies that deal with disaster insurance, homeowners insurance, those kind of things have. And the largest of those companies is Swiss Re. It's based out of Switzerland, and it's called Swiss Re, literally, Swiss R-E. And they, in 96, when I was writing Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, they were warning about the dangers to the insurance industry if climate change got out of control. And you're absolutely right, Bill, and say hi to Soon for me, too, and thanks for the call. You are absolutely right that we are seeing this right now, and it is getting bad, and it's going to get a lot worse. And the insurance companies are dealing with it by simply jacking their prices up. But there's going to reach a point where they can't do that anymore. Bill, thanks for the call. On the line with us, by the way, this report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com and Ellen Ratner's new book, Loving What You Do. On the line with us, the author of Sideswiped, Congressman Bob Ney. Congressman, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom. How are you?
I am great, but I'll get better. I hope the same is true for you.
Okay. I'm trying.
Okay. So what's happening in the world today?
Well, can I talk about March Madness?
You certainly can.
Not the basketball, the White House.
Okay, I was going to say, I may not be able to speak intelligently about it, but okay, go for it.
That'd be the only thing you couldn't talk about, okay? I know that you're versed on everything else.
Yeah, I know nothing about sports.
Well, I call March Madness because, and I have to throw this one in right off the bat, John Bolton. And the reason I bring that up, and he's always trying for a job, but these days, nobody really wants to work in the White House, so maybe he actually has a chance. We know there's a shuffling, at the deck there, and part of it is at the White House.
At the State Department or more broadly?
Everywhere, frankly.
Okay.
Right, State Department. But no, he would be trying to get the NSA position because we know that McMaster is looking for a way out.
Oh, my.
He's probably on the way out. I don't know. The hearsay, Tom, says that also Chief of Staff Kelly is on the hit list. If he is, that will bring an end to how that office functions, because the only piece of glue in that office right now is Kelly, the Chief of Staff, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So out there floating his own name is John Bolton, and I just have to mention that because cannot tolerate the thought of John Bolton
he's been
anywhere.
seen going to the White House a number of times in the last few months, as I recall from the news reports, and he's the guy who famously said that before Bush made him UN ambassador, that we should simply blow up the top 10 floors of the UN or something like that, words to that effect.
And he wants to bomb everybody.
Yeah, he's a hyper war hawk. He was part of the Committee for New American Century, or Project for New American Century, PNAC, advocating, seizing Iraq, and which we did, and boy, did that turn out well. These guys are geniuses. They're just geniuses.
Right.
Anyhow, what else is going on, Bob?
And I do mention that because, it is a possibility. You just don't know. And that ties also into the changes at state. Rand Paul has come out very strong and with a very interesting statement where he's not only going to go against Pompeo as the new nominee for the State Department, which in itself is interesting because some of the people who have supported him at the CIA on the Democratic side have said, look, including Senator Menendez, have said, look, whole different ball game having him in the Secretary of State. So just because some people support him for the CIA does not mean they necessarily will turn around and support him for the State Department.
Yeah, I have an article up on Alternet right now suggesting that or Pompeo, however you say his name, that his elevation to Secretary of State is proof of what I've been saying all along, which is that this is an oligarchic administration. We are, as Jimmy Carter said, now officially an oligarchy. We've got an oligarch billionaire in the White House. And the skill set now necessary to rise in the political world is no longer competence or intelligence or experience. It is now the willingness and ability to suck up to give daily tongue baths to billionaire oligarchs. And Pompeo figured that out early on and stopped the professionals at the CIA from briefing Trump and started taking hours out of his, what should be a busy day, you'd think, head of the CIA, to go over to the White House every day and just, slather Trump with attention and praise. And so, boom, he gets the giant promotion. Did you serve with him in Congress? Is that an accurate perception of his personality?
I didn't, but I think it's accurate, very accurate. He has been to the White House. He is a favorite. He is a complete hawk on Iran in every single way of the imagination. He has contradicted everything that Tillerson has ever said, about anything that Rex Tillerson, the former Secretary of State, has said. And President Trump likes him. He likes his opinions, and he likes his opinions because this guy agrees with President Trump. And I think your assessment's completely correct on it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, yes, and then Rand Paul is also going after Haspel, and she, of course, is in line to go to the CIA. Now, she's head of the CIA. She's been there, forever. I think 25 years. But it's the entire torture, situation with the black ops sites and her participation in it. We know Alberto Gonzales and Alice Fisher, who worked for Homeland Security, then was directly brought into Department of Justice under Gonzales. I wrote a chapter about her in my book, in fact, called Pretty Alice. And they had an entire planned scenario when it came to the torture aspects. And Haspel may just fit into that entire, scheme. And so Rand Paul is very upset about that. So there's a chance that 2 nominations would, in fact, be knocked out because they are one short on the committee with a vote. They only have 1 vote to spare, by the way, on the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Senate. So if Rand Paul goes away from him,
he's on that committee. So this wasn't a threat for a general floor vote. This was a committee vote threat.
Committee vote threat. Now, yes, and now McConnell could, if he wanted to, not honor the wishes of the committee, pull it out and bring it to the floor, which would be, unusual. Not to say he won't, but that would be an unusual move. So right now, I think if you count the numbers, they do not have enough votes to bring them out of the committee.
Yeah, well, McConnell would only do that if he had a whip count, if he knew that he was actually going to get 51 votes on the floor, right?
Right.
Which means he'd have to bend the arms of at least a couple of Democrats.
Correct.
Fascinating stuff. Yes, Bob Ney with Talk Media News, the author of Sideswipe. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Good talking with you. We'll be back. Stick around. We're going to check in with Jefferson Smith in the next hour from X-Ray FM here in Portland. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com. Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the organic wine company, ecowine.com. Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit tomsbeets.com. If you believe that the message of Free Speech TV, if you believe that an honest, clear, progressive message needs to be carried to more people in the United States, well, and frankly around the world with the web platform, but principally in the United States here via Dish and Direct and all the cable systems we're on, if you think that this is an important voice, if you have friends that you want to introduce to Free Speech TV and my show and Amy's show and Steph, whatever it may be, if you think this is of value, call now, 877-378-8669, and make a contribution to keep Free Speech TV on the air. That's literally what we're talking about right now, is keeping the lights on, keeping the electrons flowing, keeping this show on your TV. And the only way it happens, literally the only way it happens, is if you make a donation. 2% of Free Speech TV viewers contribute to Free Speech TV in any given year. We need to raise that to 4 or 5 or 6%. If you've never made a donation to Free Speech TV before, now is a great time to become part of our family. 877-378-8669. With a $30 contribution, you get your choice of one of 4 bumper stickers. The Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 gift, you get a Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, a Free Speech TV blue grocery bag, and a lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign that says Love Conquers Hate. With a $72 gift, you get the 4 bumper stickers, all 4 that I mentioned, including the Free Speech TV blue logo, the This Is Not Normal, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. That's the 4 bumper stickers with the $72 gift. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my book, Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, and an autographed photo of me in Cuba in February of 2018, a couple weeks ago. With a $240 gift, you get a Free Speech TV t-shirt, complete with the Building a Just World logo on one side and Standing in Unity on the other side. The Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, my book, Unequal Protection, and Bonnie Siegler's book, Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get an autographed book by me, Unequal Protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. It's the story of Black Lives Matters. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This Is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
2 minutes.
But the only way to get it
is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book on equal protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kuhlers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV T-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution. The headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me and to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt, running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please. 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Well, it's starting to get interesting. I've been saying for some time that my guess take on the whole Russia-Trump thing is not probably so much that Trump is being blackmailed or threatened. I mean, you know, the prevailing narrative out there for some time has been, oh, you know, Trump went over to Russia in 2013 for the Miss Universe and got a couple of hookers to pee on the bed that Obama used to sleep on, and you know, there's video of it, and he's being blackmailed. And Michael Steele has said, you know, he can only say 50-50 if there's even any video like that, or even if it happened. And you know, so. And you look at his schedule when he was on that trip, it's pretty unlikely. But even if it happened, I've been saying all along, he's not behaving like a guy who's being blackmailed. He's behaving like a guy who is trying to protect his business interests. And I think that we're seeing more and more evidence of this. Robert Mueller now just subpoenaed all Russia-related documents from the Trump Organization. And you know what Trump was doing in 2013 in Russia, with the Miss Universe pageant, which he owned at the time, I don't think it had anything close to as much to do with, you know, hookers or sex or anything like that as it did with wanting to open a Trump hotel in Moscow, and you know, wanting to hook up with some Russian oligarchs to make it happen, and needing the blessing of the government, which you know, in large part is Vladimir Putin, to make it happen, and that. You know, I'm a big believer in Occam's razor. That's the simplest explanation, and it's also the one that's supported by a massive amount of evidence. That, you know, it's between that and that the Trump Organization itself may only exist today as a consequence of money from Russian oligarchs and or oligarchs from the former Soviet states as well. He's got, you know, projects in a couple of the Stan countries, Kazakhstan or whichever ones they are. And you know, these are the things that are keeping him afloat. I continue to believe that Donald Trump is probably broke. And, you know, he's just living on debt and cash flow. He calls himself the king of debt. And the other thing that causes me to say, hey, here's some actual evidence that this is the case, is that the same day that Robert Mueller says to the Trump Organization, give me all your Russia stuff, the Trump administration hits Russia with sanctions. Ellen Nakashima, writing in the Washington Post today, the Trump administration on today, imposed fresh financial sanctions on Russian government hackers and spy agencies to punish Moscow for interfering in the 2016 presidential election and for a cyber attack against Ukraine and other countries last year that officials have characterized as, quote, the most destructive and costly in history, end quote. They're sanctioning, according to the Washington Post, both individuals known as trolls and the Russian organizations that quote, supported their efforts to undermine the election. I'm assuming that would be the Internet Research Bureau, I think is the name of it. The agency, the company that I had been speculating for a long time that perhaps Paul Manafort had hired for troll work. Maybe, we'll find out. But anyhow, additionally, these sanctions would tend to support the idea that, at the very least, that not only U.S. intelligence agencies, but now Trump himself or the Trump administration believe that it wasn't necessarily paid for by Manafort. It might have been coming out of the Russian government. Again, I would love to see the evidence. This is becoming a really big story. Additionally, the Washington Post writes the administration alerted the public that Russia is targeting the U.S. energy grid with computer malware that could sabotage those systems. So this could get nasty. And, broadly speaking, that is not a good thing. But, we'll have to see how it shakes out, how it all shakes out. Maine in Chicago. Hey, Maine, what's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
I'm well. What's up?
All right. Yeah, well, I was, you had several people on there that was speaking about the things that I was saying about democratizing capitalism.
Right.
Yeah, we need people, we need as a people to demand our rights as a democracy, as the capitalists demand their rights, to be capitalists. I mean, we should, we don't have candidates who truly are speaking for the people. Now, we know that 60 to 70% of the people want free education and health care, but yet no candidate that we have here local and national is saying exactly that, free health care and free education. They skirt around it. We'll want better education. We'll get better health care.
Oh, I think Bernie was unambiguous about that. I think Elizabeth Warren's is supportive of that. The entire Congressional Progressive Caucus, you've got about 100 members who are in favor of exactly what you're saying, Maine. I get it that it's not the official mainstream position of the party yet, but it's moving in that direction, and it's certainly not the mainstream official position of the news media to the extent that it can be called that. But I think there's a lot of signs that things are going in the right direction, Maine.
Yeah, well, then another thing that we have to do to truly democratize capitalism is get rid of that electoral college and stop the trickle-down economy.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, because until we stop trickle-down, I mean, that's double up. Now, this is a capitalistic society and a democracy, then democracy should have some say in that money. To me, what Reagan did was illegal to take all the money and send it to the top. Then what about democracy? Or the people themselves? So to me, that was like an illegal move when you call yourself a democracy. For him to take that money and then say, well, we're going to trickle it down.
Yeah, he turned it into a kleptocracy.
Right, and then that electoral college, you let 370 votes overrule 110 million?
Yeah.
110 million votes, and you allow 370 votes to say, "Oh, well, this is the president."
Yep.
Well, that's insanity.
I absolutely agree. Maine, very well said and spot on all points. Very well said. Thank you. Nadia in South Elgin, Illinois, listening to WCPT. It says you're running for office, Nadia?
Oh, I'm a precinct committeeman thanks to you, Tom.
Oh, good on
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I've listened to you and Bernie all the time, and I was inspired. So I want to promote some good people in Illinois. Okay. Illinois listeners, March 20th, go vote, ask for a Democratic ballot. Vote for Chris Kennedy for governor, Amanda Howland for Illinois 6th Congressional District, Aaron Goldstein for Attorney General, Willie Mays for Kane County Sheriff, Mike Nolan for Kane County Judge, and me, Nadia Daly, Precinct Committeeman, St. Charles Township 24. All these people believe and support single-payer health care, quality education for all, protect Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, union living wage jobs, sensible gun control, net neutrality, protect the environment, equal rights for all.
Wow.
So they're all good people.
Yeah, you guys
Thank
are,
you so much.
exactly the people that Maine just a minute ago was mourning the lack and loss of. You give me hope. You inspire me, Nadia. Thank you so much for what you're doing and for the heads up on the election coming up. And I wish you the very best in your campaign to become precinct committee person.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate all you do.
My
Take
pleasure.
Care.
Hey, thank you. Good talking with you, Nadia. Vinny in Binghamton, New York. Hey, Vinny, what's on your mind? Thanks for listening to Sirius XM.
Oh, wow, Tom, thanks a lot. I'll tell you, you've been I've called into many shows, and I've saved the best for last. I've been trying for a while
for you.
But I enjoy your show so much. And, Tom, there's a local program that comes on Monday through Friday. It's called Binghamton Today, and it lasts for about 3 hours. And anybody can call in and say anything they want to. And, of course, we're mostly conservative in this area. And I listen to your show and shows on XM, and I bring that information to the show. And, I get a lot of people call in, try to challenge because, it's conservative. But I'll tell you, it has really opened the eyes of a lot of people around here, especially Democrats. Because, Tom, that's my message. I'm not trying to get conservatives to change over. I just want the progressives and the Democrats and liberals, give them more information and let them know what's going on out here.
Right. So that's
and your show was one of them. Oh yeah, we had a gun incident up here. We'll talk about the whole gun shooting and stuff like that. And
right.
I've been some of my friends own guns. I have a couple guys that put guns together, and they're all about national background checks.
Yeah. No, I think most rational people are, Vinny. And it's just common sense. Let's have common sense gun control laws, pretty much every other country on earth. You don't have to ban guns, but right. We are 5% of the world's population. We have 50% of the world's guns in civilian hands, and 3% of our population has half of that 50% of the world's guns. That's a problem. Vinny, thank you for the call. And thanks for listening to Sirius XM. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day, your calls. We're going to check in with Jefferson Smith here at X-Ray FM in Portland, too, in a little bit. And welcome back. Chris in Salem, Oregon, listening on X-Ray FM. Speaking of, you are on the air. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, hey, Tom, I'm glad that you're back in Salem. That was funny that one caller at the first hour, probably a paid shill, like, oh, Democrats shouldn't pick on Republicans.
Right.
Like, come on, Donald Rumsfeld, democracy is messy.
Right.
If the tables were turned, like you said, they would be, could Obama get away with this? But my point kind of centers around looking back to the Obama administration. And if, you can see a couple of instances where you had some high level kind of cabinet level changes, but for the most part, going from Arnie Duncan to Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, these were very, very loyal. I mean, incredibly loyal to President Obama and to the country. And I think Obama, he was such a statesman that he had such a vetting process and who he was going to surround himself to run the White House, and that these people had, aligned themselves with progressive values and the Democratic Party. It seems like Donald Trump is moving in that direction by appointing someone like Mike Pompeo, bringing in these kind of alt-right guys. I think Donald Trump knew from the get-go that Rex Tillerson wasn't a right-wing ideologue. He was probably a centrist, moderate Republican who was a businessman. So why was Trump early on appointing people like Scaramucci and all these guys that he knew probably were unstable, but at the same time he went ahead and appointed them?
He saw him on TV. I mean, that's he took a Fox and Friends co-host, one of the women who was on Fox and Friends, she's now the number 4 person in the State Department because he saw her on TV and he liked her. She has absolutely no experience in international diplomacy. None. No training, no education, none. She's a Fox television co-host. And she's now number 4 in the State Department. I mean, this is a serious problem, frankly. I don't know how to say it beyond that, but it's a serious problem. Robert in Roswell, New Mexico. Hey, Robert, thanks for watching Free Speech. What's up?
I was going to talk to you about gun control, but first I want to say I worked at WJIM in Lansing.
Oh, so did I. It's my first job in television. I was the floor director.
Yeah. Do you remember John Grover and Carl Onken?
I remember Carl. I'm not sure I remember John. I was there in 68, 67 or 68.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we were both there.
Yeah.
I worked at the transmitter out south of Okemos.
Ah, okay. We're going to hit a break in a second here, Robert. What did you had a topic you wanted to call about?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, do you remember Tom Jones from WJIM? He was the GM. He was the guy who hired me when I started there. Anyhow, to your issue, because we only have 30 seconds left.
Okay. When the Second Amendment was added to the Constitution, the United States did not have a standing army. The Second Amendment says that bring your own gun to the next war.
Right, a well-regulated militia. And
right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Second Amendment, in part, grew out of a debate among the founders about whether the United States should even have a standing army during times of peace. Jefferson was totally opposed to it. Madison was ambivalent. Washington was totally in favor of having a continual standing army. And that debate spilled out into that, plus Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that says the Army can only have a 2-year financial authorization. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I thought Jefferson Smith was going to be with us, but apparently he's not. So I'll just tell you, X-Ray FM, our local progressive station here in Portland, 91.1 FM KXRY and 107.1 FM X-Ray FM, are having and their website, xray.fm, are having a birthday party, birthday bash, that I'm going to be at briefly. I'll be there for a little while on is Sunday? Saturday?
Sunday at 5:30.
Sunday at 5:30. There you go, here in Portland. So check it out. Just a heads up. Bobby in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Bobby, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, I was the one that talked, last caller yesterday. Can you hear me?
I do.
Hello?
Oh, hey, yeah, but I don't think you can hear me. And I see that Jefferson Smith is on the line, so let's pick him up. I was just talking about this. Jefferson Smith is the executive director of X-Ray FM. Jefferson, welcome back. Welcome to the program.
Hey, man, it's good to be here. Thanks so much for doing what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, and I should say welcome back. You've been on our show before. So tell us about X-Ray FM, how the station is doing, and about the birthday bash coming up this weekend.
Well, yeah, I'll talk about both. Thanks for the chance. So, as you know, launched 4 years ago. After both, there was a cry from the music and artistic community that the kind of oligopoly control of the airwaves, leaving out a lot of the very best musicians and local artists. And then after the station that used to carry you was shut down by Clear Channel, and we got started up, and it's been and we won some awards and had some success. It's also been, competing in the context of legacy media is a challenging thing to do, and we're working away. And celebrating the 4th birthday, where we're trying to move into the next phase of the organization.
That is great. And I'm going to be there. Louise and I have a grandchild coming this weekend, and I mean literally arriving, birthing, and so
they're invited. Whatever. They're invited.
So I'm not going to be able to be there for a very long period of time. It's going to be pretty brief, but I'm more than happy to show up. Tell us when, where, how, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Mississippi Studios, 5:30 is the part that where you're going to be there. Then it's going to go late into the night. We got bands, Marquee, Mascaras, the Bedrooms. We'll have X-Ray DJs. It's going to, we've got a bunch of cool stuff that'll be happening, and we'll have a discussion with you about the media. And one little plug, because doing an ad on your airwave is something I really welcome the chance to do, to plug the event. We would love people to come. If you live anywhere within the jaws of Portland, Oregon, we'd deeply love to connect you with X-Ray and to connect you with the community here. But the big thing is just a reminder of the important thing that you're doing. I think it's missed by so much of the media discussion. So much that's fixated on the person that Donald Trump is, or the person that he isn't, underappreciating, underreporting, underdiscussing the movement that begat him. He didn't start that movement. That movement gave him the opportunity. And that part of that, a bigger part than anybody seems to pay attention to, or at least the vast bulk of pundits and major media organizations pay attention to, is it was fueled by right-wing radio. That's what gave birth to Donald Trump. That's what continues to help spawn his agenda. And having there be a diversity of voices and recognizing that truth doesn't mean that climate change is only half real. The truth doesn't mean that wealth disparities are only half a problem, or that people with different sexual orientation only have half a set of rights, that we can be values-driven in our pursuit of truth. That's not a little thing. That's not an entertainment thing. That's something necessary for a democracy that can function.
Wow. Yeah. Very, very well said. And I mean, in some ways, it goes back to the Powell memo. It goes back to the corruption of the FCC starting during the Reagan administration. It goes back to blowing up the Fairness Doctrine in '87 and rolling out Rush Limbaugh's show that year. You're absolutely right. And this is why, in my opinion, why Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's company, bought Clear Channel. It's just.
I'll go you one further. So I met with a couple people. We were just getting started.
We just have about 10 seconds here, Jefferson.
All right, well, anyway, some experts in the radio industry, I was talking to them when we were started, told me that was the reason. They weren't ideologues. They weren't conspiracy theorists. They were saying, oh, no, it wasn't based on finances. The shutting down of the station was based on ideology.
Yeah.
Xray.fm if people want to check it out. And thanks a lot, Tom.
There you go. XRAY.fm is the website for our progressive station here in Portland that I'm so pleased to be affiliated with. And I will see you all on Saturday afternoon. Thank you, Jefferson.
Thanks, man.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Excuse me, I said Saturday. It's going to be Sunday afternoon for X-Ray FM. My apologies, Sunday afternoon. We'll be right back.
If you believe that the message of Free Speech TV, if you believe that an honest, clear, progressive message needs to be carried to more people in the United States, well, and frankly around the world with the web platform, but principally in the United States here via Dish and Direct and all the cable systems we're on, if you think that this is an important voice, if you have friends that you want to introduce to Free Speech TV and my show and Amy's show and Steph, whatever it may be, if you think this is a value, call now, 877-378-8669, and make a contribution to keep Free Speech TV on the air. That's literally what we're talking about right now, is keeping the lights on, keeping the electrons flowing, keeping this show on your TV. And the only way it happens, literally the only way it happens, is if you make a donation. 2% of Free Speech TV viewers contribute to Free Speech TV in any given year. We need to raise that to 4 or 5 or 6%. If you've never made a donation to Free Speech TV before, now is a great time to become part of our family. 877-378-8669. With a $30 contribution, you get your choice of one of 4 bumper stickers. The Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 gift, you get a Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, a Free Speech TV blue grocery bag, and a lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign that says Love Conquers Hate. With a $72 gift, you get the 4 bumper stickers, all 4 that I mentioned, included the Free Speech TV blue logo, the This Is Not Normal, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. That's the 4 bumper stickers with the $72 gift. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of my book, Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, and an autographed photo of me in Cuba in February of 2018, a couple weeks ago. With a $240 gift, you get a Free Speech TV t-shirt, complete with the Building a Just World logo on one side and Standing in Unity on the other side. The Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, my book, Unequal Protection, and Bonnie Siegler's book, Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get an autographed book by me, Unequal Protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. It's the story of Black Lives Matters. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to the Thom Hartmann audio podcast, so you can listen to the show anytime, anywhere that you'd like. This is something we normally sell over at our website at thomhartmann.com. You get that for free with a $360 gift. And you get the 4 bumper stickers that we talked about. This Is Not Normal, Elect a Circus, Expect a Clown, Free Speech TV, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $480 gift, there is this new DVD of Tom and Louise's excellent adventure in Cuba. This is only available here and now. This is, we took a video camera with us and taped a few hours of videotape in Cuba, had a great time, and we're editing it down to a little home movie, and we are not going to put it on the air, and it is not going to be sold. There's only one way to get this DVD, and that's to make a $480 contribution to Free Speech TV. And, if you could ask for that to be split up over 12 months, I think that would be $40 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
2 minutes.
But the only way to get it is by making a contribution to Free Speech TV. And in addition to that, you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by the author, me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the story of the lives of Black Lives Matter folks, by Patrice Kahn-Kullers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler, and you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo. That's all with a $480 contribution, the headliner on that, the DVD of our trip to Cuba. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland and I'll take you to lunch. We've got tomorrow, in fact, a few people coming by, and I'm looking forward to lunch with them. I meet the most fascinating people when we have lunch with our Free Speech TV donors. So that will be tomorrow. The number is 877-378-8669. This is a serious time, and it's a serious time in America. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, bragging, as he did last night at a fundraiser in Missouri, bragging about lying to the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, every other leader in the world has to be thinking, I can't negotiate with this guy in good faith. I can't even trust what he says to me and to my face. I mean, he's bragging about lying. We have a crisis of democracy. Mike Pompeo, the Koch brothers' #1 recipient of support through his career, it just got elevated to Secretary of State. The Koch brothers guy, Ryan Zinke, running Interior. The Koch brother guy, Scott Pruitt running EPA. I mean, this is a disaster. And we need Free Speech TV now more than ever. Please help us keep this network going. Please. 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. Tell your friends about it, but please call now. A donation of any amount is a big help. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Bobby in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Bobby, thanks for listening to 1350 AM. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, I was trying to get list some things yesterday in kind of rapid fire fashion as to how to push back against these billionaires. We need to just cut them off where they rely on us. They preach to us that we should keep our house in hock and invest that money in their stock market, and then they steal that from us. I think because we should pay off our houses, pay down our debts, stop borrowing from them, and dry up their funds. There's all different kinds of things we can do.
Not if you're not independently wealthy, Bobby.
Yeah, I realize that, but we're not independently wealthy in lieu of paying off our house. I mean, they encourage us to borrow and then invest that in the stock market.
Well, they don't just encourage us to borrow. They work with legislators to create an entire system that runs on debt. I mean, this Ellen Brown writes about this over on her website, webofdebt.com, and her book, Web of Debt. And it's become the basis of everything. Bobby, I think you identified something really well. However, you did start out when I first put you on before Jefferson saying that you had called in yesterday. We really ask people only call in once a week. Dave in Sarasota, Florida. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Good.
I'm doing good. First thing I wanted to leave a comment for you. A couple of weeks ago, you had Senator Representative Buchanan on, and he said that the Democrat had won the election. That's true, but the part about it that's good, she beat Representative Buchanan's son in that election, and there was a lot of dark money. So that was a good point. But my question was for you was that do you think that the federal government could have elections for the president and U.S. senators and representatives separately from state elections so that they could stop voter disenfranchisement?
You would have to either pass a really rigorous piece of legislation or perhaps even amend the Constitution. I'm not sure you'd have to amend the Constitution if you did it with money instead of mandates, but it would take some pretty aggressive federal action to do that. The idea was to keep elections local so that you could keep them honest, that local election officials were less corruptible than people who don't live in the communities, that they would know who the voters were, that sort of thing. The reality was that was also a cover for racist states, the former slave states, well, at that time the slave states, from wanting to keep women from voting, wanting to keep people of color from voting, wanting to maintain highly segregated voting systems, which is still going on to this day, as you could see in any city. You walk into a polling place in a white neighborhood or a black neighborhood on election day, and you're going to see a difference in the quality of the machinery and the number of machines and all kinds of things that are making it easier for wealthy white people to vote and harder for poorer people of color to vote, bottom line. Yeah. Now, but I don't think that there is, I mean, the Republicans like it this way. This is part of their strategy. You'll recall Paul Weyrich back in 1980 when he was working on the Reagan campaign said, I don't want everybody to vote. Elections have never been won by the majority of people. They never will be. In fact, quite candidly, our leverage in the election goes up as the voting populace goes down. That's a verbatim quote. And that has been the mantra of the Republican Party ever since then. And so the only way to make what you're talking about happen, Dave, and I agree that it's necessary, and I think that we actually can make it happen, is to get a majority of Democrats controlling the House and Senate.
Yeah, that's true. Vote for Democrats, progressive vote Democrats anyways.
There you go. Amen.
Yeah, and I appreciate all you do, and thanks for you and your staff for great programming.
Oh, you're welcome, Dave. And thanks a lot for listening to WFLR. LeRon, in Houston, Texas. Hey, LeRon, what's up?
Tom, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Okay, great. Look here. I just had a very interesting conversation with a retired U.S. Marshal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I was telling about these kids at U of H. They're journalism students. They want to investigate the shooting in Vegas and also the Oklahoma City bombings. Now, the U.S. Marshal said he hadn't seen anything so slipshod with the investigation in Vegas since the Oklahoma City bombings. And I was telling about these kids. Now, right quick, one of their professors that's over the journalism department was an intern back with Woodward and Bernstein. He wasn't working on the story. He was, the guy they tell him to go get coffee and a sandwich and all of that. But he got a chance to see real reporters. And he's turning out some great group of kids. But the U.S. Marshal told me, he said, these kids need to tread lightly. Anyone who can derail a federal investigation has money, power, and they are extremely dangerous.
Assuming that the federal investigations were actually derailed.
Well, when they got McVeigh, the investigation stopped abruptly.
Well, no, they continued that for a couple of years. They got that guy, Paul, I'm forgetting his last name, who McVeigh had stayed with the week before in Michigan, as I recall. They arrested him.
Tom, they got guys that couldn't have put this thing together to save their life.
Well, it wasn't that complicated. You just take a bunch of fertilizer and pour diesel fuel on it.
Well, yeah, but it takes money, and these guys couldn't raise that money for anything.
I don't think that's the case,
U.S. Marshal, that's what this retired guy was saying. Now, this thing in Vegas, I personally called 2 hotels, 5-star hotels here in Houston, and asked them, is it possible somebody could be in a room for 23 days and housekeeping not going? They said, no way. That's in all kind of violations of the health code. You can get shut down.
Yeah.
It's just
well, they might have different rules in Vegas. I mean, Vegas is, famous for being, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and all that kind of stuff.
But like I said, these hotels told me there's no way that's legal. There's no way that's going to happen. Now, some friends and I went down to Lake Charles. We go down there sometime, the little casinos. And I talked to security, 2 casinos. And the guy said everybody in the business wondering what in the world happened up there, because he said if you bring in a rifle in their casinos, before you leave the desk, security is going to be all over you, because they not only have cameras, they've got infrared, they have sensors. The only place they don't have cameras in a casino is your room that you're staying in and a public restroom.
Right.
They even watch the freezer. You can't even steal food out of there.
Right. So what's your theory, LaRon? Where are you going with all this? Who do you think?
Well, the thing is, these kids are going to investigate what happened. Why did this take place? This guy had an arsenal up there, and everybody claiming they didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well,
they want to find
look
out.
forward to the results. If you don't have a specific theory, though, I'm going to move along. But I share your curiosity.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know you got some type of little investigators out here that are college students, and they're going to take on the bear.
There you go. Okay, that's good to know. LaRon,
right,
keep us up to date, okay?
Take care.
Okay, thanks a lot for the call. Ron, from Ron to Ron in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Hey, Ron, from LaRon to Ron. What's up, Ron?
Hello, Tom. Tomorrow is the 50-year anniversary of the My Lai massacre, 1968.
When was?
And, beg your pardon?
Tomorrow is.
Yes.
Okay, I missed your first word. I'm sorry.
Here's the irony of it, in my eyes. That same rifle that was used in Vietnam is being used now to slaughter us. It's with the selector switch for full auto is off it. But it's the Vietnamese never invaded us, but the black rifle, which the Vietnamese called the M16, has invaded us thanks to the NRA and its cohorts. But it's just rather ironic that now, as we were massacring people in their churches and schools in Vietnam, now that rifle is being turned on our own people.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. This is so we should celebrate is the wrong word. Memorialize the My Lai massacre by conflating it with the massacre in Parkland, saying weapons of war. During the Vietnam War, there was this saying, the war always comes home, and sure enough, it did. And so now we've got weapons of war being used in Parkland, Florida, rather than in My Lai. Good point. Good point, Ron. Thank you for the call, and thanks for saying it. Randy in Ottawa, Iowa. Hey, Randy, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Hope you're having a great day.
Thanks, I am.
When you brought it up earlier about the fear of the Russians meddling in our electrical grid and the internet and stuff, and I just wanted to inject into the conversation that the United States has already been there first with the Stuxnet virus, and although we did not initiate the attack on Iran with that, it was the Israelis, that we need to keep in mind that keep in perspective, keep a perspective as to what is going on. That was under the Obama administration, and there is a documentary on it. 0 Days is the name of it, and it's great. It's a great show. So I just wanted to throw that out there to kind of balance the conversation out. We were doing it first.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not sure if we were doing it first, but we were certainly doing it. And you know, it's basically, the old saying is, you know, every war uses the latest technology available. And in all probability, the next war will be a cyber war and a nuclear war. And it looks like the cyber war part of it has already started. Randy, thank you for the call. Let's hope the nuclear war part never comes. It would be a disaster. It's coming up on 45 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
Your media support group for We the People, the Thom Hartmann Program. Back with your calls after this. And welcome back. Alan in Seattle. Hey, Alan, what's on your mind today? Thanks for listening to KBCS.
Let me take you off speakerphone.
Alan, I no longer wait for people to do that. Lester in Denver, Colorado. Hey, Lester, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind?
How you doing?
Good.
I just wanted to inquire about your thoughts on why is it that liberals seem like they have such a hard time defending their issues. The conservative people be attacking them right there with them sitting there, and they won't even speak up and say anything sometime. And I'll be sitting there wondering, what is your problem? I'll give you a couple of examples. The Iran nuclear deal. Conservatives will go and just, no problem, they'll be talking about this disastrous nuclear deal.
Right.
And I'll be wanting somebody to ask them, what's disastrous about it? I thought the deal was for them not to get a nuclear bomb.
Right. And that's what it's doing.
Get a nuclear bomb, and they keep talking about this disaster, then they bring up, and I can't believe Obama gave them this money. All the liberal person has to do is ask them, what money are you referring to? You know they trying to put it out there that he gave the Iranians American taxpayer dollars, which is not true.
That's right. It was frozen Iranian assets.
Right. But they never say where the money come from, and the liberals sit there like they retarded or something, and don't have no. I would ask them in a heartbeat, what money are you referring to?
Yep.
You see what I mean? The same thing with all this demagoguery that Trump comes up with on the military.
Yeah.
Our military has been decimated. Our military has never been decimated. That's just a lie.
Yep.
And then he can spend $50 billion extra on a military that was never decimated in the first place.
Well, here's the one thing that actually is decimating our military, although the decimating is probably the wrong word, but let's say nibbling into it the way termites go into a house, is privatization. You know, we've got these KPM coming in and you know, doing kitchen functions and building buildings that are electrocuting soldiers and just all this. I mean, and they're doing it for twice, 3 times, 5 times, 100 times the price of what it would cost if the federal government did it, so that some executive can make an extra few $1 million a month and kick some of that money back to some Republican politicians in D.C. who are going to make sure that he keeps getting the money. I mean, that is a problem.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get at. All of this stuff that liberals can be bringing up, they'll just sit there and they'll never say anything sometimes.
Well, you don't see me sitting there, Lester.
They probably wouldn't have had you in the conversation, so I'm trying to figure out what is it. You know, the same thing with Obama. He saved the economy. They act like he took us into a depression.
I know.
It's just pitiful.
Which
way is up?
Well, I would have liked to see more puffery by President Obama during his administration, or at least by members of his cabinet, and the sycophancy that has surrounded Trump, where everybody is constantly praising him literally every day and every other sentence, is way over the top and nausea-inducing. But I would have liked to have heard at least a little bit of bragging out of Obama's administration, because they did accomplish a heck of a lot, actually.
Okay, then you should bring it up more, because sometimes some people call into your show, and they probably liberals, and they'll be acting like Obama, he was a disaster.
Yeah, well, that's not...
Oh, no, he came in under, a tsunami of problems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he came in during the worst depression, or the start of what could have been the worst depression since the Great Depression, the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and it was caused by Republican policies unambiguously. And that needed to be said over and over and over again every day, Lester. I agree with you. Hey, we're digging out of the Bush crash. Occupying the media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Thom Hartmann here with you, back from the break. And Chris in Bensonville, Illinois. Hey, Chris, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Chris.
I'm a former resident of the 51st state.
51st? What is the 51st state?
The Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
Oh, okay. Cool.
we want to be the state of superior.
Yeah, I know. There's a secession movement up there. I spent a summer in the Chippewa National Forest living in a teepee up there back in the late '60s. But it's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah, I know, it's great. The reason I call is Dr. Hawkins passed away the other day.
Yes, I was going to do an homage to him yesterday, and I just never got to it. But Stephen Hawking was an amazing guy. I loved his book, A Brief Wrinkle in Time. And in fact, I had the audiobook version of it and listened to it 2 or 3 times. It takes a long time to digest all the information in there. But
yeah,
he
but
was...
Isn't it nice? I read Einstein's Universe that was written 40 years ago by physicists for us dumb people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing when you can actually comprehend what the man was thinking.
Yeah.
But the reason I called Dr. Hawkins, when he was asked about global warming, said the thing to do about global warming is colonize Mars. Because he says if we don't do something right now, take Congress in November, get the ball rolling, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I think if we colonize Mars, we're simply taking our problems with us. We have some deep cultural problems that go back to the agricultural revolution, to the idea of locking up the food, to the rise of oligarchs and billionaires and a predatory class and an underclass. And we need to address those problems. And we're going to get hit in the face here fairly soon, I think, by both the environment and the economy. And hopefully it will cause us to reconsider the wonders of unregulated capitalism and whatnot, the stuff that we have been doing intelligently.
Excuse me. California is already experiencing global warming.
Oh, every state in the union is. Every state in the union is. I mean, spring is coming earlier and earlier. When we lived in D.C., the cherry blossoms, the Cherry Blossom Festival always happened after all the blossoms had fallen off in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's happening all over, and it's a big, big problem. Chris, I need to move along, but thank you for the call. Wayne in Amarillo, Texas. Hey, Wayne, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I was going to comment on guns. How, I've noticed that people that buy guns, for protection or whatever, they get even more paranoid after they get them. Anyhow, and I got a sticker on the front of my screen door that I don't allow guns in the house.
So your house is a gun-free zone?
It's a gun-free zone, yeah. I bought a sticker down at the hardware store.
Isn't that nice? Okay, yeah. Wayne, you said guns make people more paranoid. You actually know people who have bought a gun and then got paranoid? It seems to me like the paranoid would be inclined to buy the gun.
Well, yeah, they seem like they get more paranoid to me.
Yeah, it may well be. Wayne, thank you for your call. Thanks for sharing your story with us. Lynn in Kershaw, South Carolina. Hey, Lynn. Veterans
that
Administration?
Has nothing with politics. That has to do with the environment.
Lynn?
You know what the environment is.
No, Lynn's not listening to her phone. Bob in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Hey, Bob, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, it's spring. Regeneration of the forest it would be a good idea, worldwide effort to do that. Therefore, making better use of the natural resources that we can and that we know about. Won't get into that today. I'll just say something about the nuclear industry. It's got the countries, the nations, held hostage. We should expose the uranium dealers all over the world. Expose how these mines work. You could ask the Navajo people about that, how Peabody Coal, and you can ask the Cherokee people how that worked out down here with Sequoia Fuels.
Yeah.
And we ought to get into who are these people that are dealing in uranium and nuclear waste and all this, the matter of national security as to why it's all so hush-hush. Well, it's not hush-hush when so many people are getting cancer at rates that are so far off the charts, the public wouldn't believe it if they knew.
Yeah, but it's very profitable. Bob, I just, you made your point. You made it really well. I just have 1 minute left. I want to get Mike in here in Point of Rocks, Maryland. Mike, you wanted to make a comment. Can you do it quickly?
Yeah, hi. Let's just relate to that.
Well, actually, we have almost a minute and a half, so take your time, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, okay. A couple weeks ago, this relates to that guy we called 2 minutes McVeigh. A couple weeks ago in Fairfax County, Virginia, a young man who's like 17 shot his girlfriend's parents because they forbade him from seeing her because he's posted right-wing, white supremacist viewpoints on his Facebook page. He was charged as a juvenile. Yet and he killed 2 people.
Oh my!
In Virginia, if you're 12 years old, you kill somebody, you get charged as an adult. Why do they treat him as a juvenile? I believe it's because of a lot of law enforcement people are 3%ers and are oath keepers. And I think a lot of that has to do with white supremacy. Thank you.
I think you may well be right. I think absolutely you may well be right. Mike, thanks for the call. Lynn in Kershaw, South Carolina. Lynn, the last minute's yours.
Yeah. I wanted to know if he knew anything about the Veterans Administration firing the last director, and if he knows what the effect is, and if he knows if they're going to hire a new one and who it is.
I have seen stories about that and about who the new director might be, and I'm sorry, Lynn, that I don't have that right in front of me, and I don't recall the details. The VA is not a beat that I, focus like laser on, like for example, EPA or Commerce. And I probably should. I should spend a lot more time with it because the VA is a really vital and important agency, particularly for our veterans. I mean, it's a big deal for people in this country.
It is, and I'm a veteran.
Yeah, and all I can tell you is if Trump is putting a new VA director in, it'll be somebody who's good at sucking up to Trump. That's the one criteria that we know for sure is the thing that gets you in the cabinet, and what gets you kicked out is if you don't suck up to him. So we'll find out. Lynn, I'll look for opportunity. I'm going to look for information on this and try and report it back to you. And maybe we can even find a good guest who can talk about it. The Iraq veterans might be a good group. There's a bunch of them. Thank you so much for the call. Thank you all for being with us today. Horrible infrastructure problem in Miami. We've got a civilian pedestrian crosswalk that has collapsed, killing a few people. We really need to put this country back together, And that means you and me getting active, getting involved, getting out there, getting active. Tag, you're it. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally.
For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit tomsbeats.com.